Well, Chris, let's reflect now on a very busy transfer deadline day here at the Pro. Total of 5 deals taking place. The one that, of course, we'll start with is the departure of Owen Doyle. What was the background to the sale of Owen?
Well, once Owen this season had knocked up 15 goals, it was pretty obvious that coming in the next window, which is now just gone January, that there would be a lot of interest in Owen and that we would take it very, very difficult to keep hold of him. Lots of clubs looked at Owen over the period of time. We only had 3 offers yesterday, one from obviously from another club, and I had 2 offers from Cardiff. I turned 2 offers down, and we eventually accepted a fee of £1 million plus for Owen Doyle. Now, this is a player that walked in through the front door 14-15 months ago on a free transfer, and Owen this season has excelled beyond anybody's wildest dreams. Paul Cook, who's during the summer took a bit of flack because he hadn't signed any strikers, etc., etc. Owen's proved that what Paul said, he would score goals. Now, we were in a predicament once, as I say, he scored 15 goals. The player then believes he can play at a higher level. Interest comes from a higher level, and that's what happened. But unfortunately, we had no interest, no offers until yesterday. I had one offer about 9 from a club, and then the eventual takers, Cardiff City, called around about 11 a.m. yesterday, and as I say, I turned their first offer down, and then had to then send them what we would think is a good fee for a player. Now, if you study the transfer deadline day yesterday, there's no Championship clubs buying any players from Leagues 1 and 2. The transfer market yesterday was flat. The Premier League, they're the only teams with any finances that of old. The 150, the 200, the £300,000 transfers that Leagues 1 and 2 clubs used to survive on have gone. A lot of them are loans, a lot of them are contracts paid up by other clubs and taking players off their wage bills. We here have changed the philosophy round in the last 18 months, where we have got now players in our squad, young and experienced players, that we feel have made the club what they are today. We've got a number of players in the squad who I kept reading about were leaving in January. They're still here, and quite rightly so. We as a club have to, and I reiterate, have to try and sell players every year to keep this stadium going, to pay the bills and to pay the interest payments that I inherited when I came to the club, which is around £600,000 every year, has to be paid out. Forget about anything else. They have to be paid out. We have to meet those requirements. So, we have to look at bringing players in, and when Paul came to the club, that was one of the things that he wanted to do, and he does an extremely good job at doing. We have to bring players into the team, develop them, and every now and again we have to sell a player to keep the wolves at door. So, yesterday's decision is disappointing in some, and I understand the frustration, but there'll be other players in the future that will leave the club and go on to bigger clubs. We've done it in the past, which was a long, long time ago, which were obviously Caleb Forlan and Kevin Davis, and we hardly sold anybody for 10-15 years of any real valuation. Yesterday was the first £1 million footballer to leave Chesterfield, and we leaves the club with our best wishes, because Owen has done tremendously well since he came here, against a barrage of criticism at times against him, but he's left here with all our best wishes. And if Owen is successful at Cardiff, so will Chesterfield Football Club, with add-on fees, international cap, etc., etc., which I think may be a far better chance of him now he's become a Championship player. There is more money to come on the deal. So when I read and people say that you've undersold him, if there was other clubs in for him and there's a bit of bartering to be done, you do it. But unfortunately, as I've said before, the transfer market is flat and clubs have not got the finances in the Championship that people think.
Aside from the interests of the club in obviously cashing in on a saleable asset, if the player were to have been kept, then you've got surely an unhappy player on your hands whose career has got a great opportunity now going up to the Championship, and you were basically stopping him in his tracks.
Listen, it's Tuesday morning now, right? If we hadn't got such a good deal out of Cardiff City yesterday, and Owen would have been sitting downstairs in the dressing room today. Yesterday he had an opportunity. He signed a 3.5-year contract which will set the player up for the rest of his life. Now, can you imagine today being sitting downstairs in the dressing room at Chesterfield and thinking about what you might have had? The money that Owen will have made, and I know his contract at Cardiff, we cannot afford them sort of monies. You will have an unhappy player on our hands, a disillusioned player, because it's human nature. It's football, and I understand frustrations from some supporters. It's very difficult. So I mean, if you're earning £100 this week, yesterday, and now suddenly earning £3,000 a week, because that's about a difference in scale that Owen's now on. How can you possibly prevent somebody going on to that? And it's for everybody else in our team, in our club, our young players, etc. The opportunities are here. Crew have been doing it for years, of developing players. That's what we want this football club to become. At the same time, not selling everybody, selling a player every now and again to fund the football club, to keep the business going, and finding the next one. Paul's job now, as he knows, is to find another goal scorer. We've brought players in because, as I said earlier, we didn't know about any deal until yesterday. I've had no offers up until yesterday. So we were thinking on Saturday night and Sunday that Owen will still be here on Tuesday morning, because we've had no interest. All the papers and radio and TV and message boards and sites, nothing. So we were quite thinking that Owen was still going to be here Tuesday.
Now the message to the fans now has to be to put your faith in the manager and his chief scout, of course, Paul Mitchell. Based on past performance, they brought the players in who they have developed, and on that basis, that they've brought in 4 players yesterday, a mixture of youth and experience.
Well, I mean, for those that may not know the players, Lavery at Sheffield Wednesday is very, very highly rated. He's played in the Championship, scored goal or 2 in the Championship for Sheffield Wednesday. Young Manny, who's been with us for a number of weeks now, Paul and Liam especially, think a hell of a lot about this young player. He's powerful, he's quick, he's big, he's skillful. Duffy from Birmingham, I mean, he's very, very highly rated to go to Birmingham. He's been at Scunthorpe, he's experienced, he's tricky, he can create. Ashley Carter from Wolves, centre-back, left-footed, very hard to find. We've lost Liam Cooper in the early on the season with a left-footed centre-half. Paul would like to play with a balance of a right-footed and a left-footed. Left-footed centre-halves are very hard to find. We're having a look at the young boy over the period of time. Will he be coming permanently? Who knows? Let's see how he does when he's in this building. But I mean, nothing was done yesterday that came as a surprise to the coaching staff, because we knew if we have got permanent targets to bring in. We've got targets around the country that in the summer that we'll bring in. If Owen were to have left a week ago, 10 days or whatever, a week ago, then we would have gone for a couple of permanent signings rather than loans. But because of the lateness of any deals yesterday, then Paul bang brought those players in, and now we believe, Paul and I believe, that our strike force now is stronger than it was at the beginning of January.
Because of course we have to remember that it's 5 new arrivals over the last 7 days, because Byron Harrison was secured last week.
Well, yes, has been that busy. I completely forgot about Byron. I think in the second half on Saturday against Doncaster, you showed the signs of what Byron can bring to the front line as well. So, we've one's gone out, and 4 or 5, as you say, have come in to strengthen the squad as a whole. It's the way football is. I would imagine today, up and down the country, in around about nearly 65 clubs in the Football League, they would have all wished that they could have got £1 million for one of their players, because it's survival. It's all about survival. And I think that Rochdale sold Matty Doan, who's been scoring goals for Rochdale this season. Now that's more than likely been done to keep the finances at Rochdale on an even keel, because remember, Rochdale are up there with us and Sheffield United battling along for a playoff spot.
So your message to fans as we find ourselves now still well placed in League One and looking forward to an away game on Saturday?
Well, we're at the highest position that Chesterfield's been in for a long time in League One. We're competing for a playoff spot. You've got to trust the manager. The manager's brought a lot of players to this club, and I can't think of anybody who's not been a so-called success. Our scouting system has brought new players to the club that have all developed well. I mean, yesterday it wouldn't have been a surprise to any of us, and even some of the fans, if we'd have had offers for 5 or 6 of those players in that first team squad, because they're young, they're playing well, they're showing great development. And whenever you get players or a team like ourselves, they're always going to attract attention. But in the meantime, before somebody goes, we're having success out on the pitch. We've had success with Owen Doyle, with his goals. And, we move on now to the next player who the success comes with. But we've got more players in this building than there has ever been in terms of quality players than this club's had for years. When Paul came 18 months ago, just over 2 years ago, we were paying players to leave Chesterfield. That's completely turned around. And, we believe and trust in Paul and Paul Mitchell to find players to develop into our team for us to be successful. And when people say that we're not ambitious, just look behind me at this stadium. If this club aren't ambitious, if there's no ambition at this football club, I tell you what, there's a lot more with no ambition at all.